Hi, Suns fans. Welcome to Suns Latest. I am Rich Rubin, the lucky Suns autograph of the day. Well, we did his brother, so might as well do Tom Van Arsdale. And if we already did Tom Van Arsdale, I apologize. Tom Van Arsdale, twin brother of the original son, Dick Van Arsdale. They played together on the Suns in '77, one glorious season. And I think they both retired in the same year. I know Dick Van Arsdale did. This is the ball that I carried with me when I was a little kid for a couple of years. Finally got it autographed by everybody on the '77 team, and it wasn't all done in '77. There were some guys left over, so I was doing it before and after, like you really care. Alrighty, let's get to it. So, point guard prospects. This is something that's been on my mind, and I know we've discussed Josh Giddey as far as who else could the Suns bring in to fill the real point guard spot. Not seeing if Book can do it, or not seeing if Jalen Green can do it, or as much as I like him, seeing if Colin Gillespie can do it. But there's guys out there. They're not necessarily even being spoken to by the Suns, but these are possible guys down the road where, things change, things happen. Maybe you get some of these guys, and here's just possible up-and-coming point guards. Jamal Shead, 6'1", Toronto, College Defensive Player of the Year when at Houston. And this is the Houston team that is still doing it, destroying every other college team with the best defensive system. So the guys coming out of Houston, regardless of their size, have defensive capability. 7 points, 4 assists in his rookie year for the Raptors. Total bulldog at 6'1", totally confident, incredibly strong, pure point guard, unlimited upside. Josh Giddey, as we've talked about, 6'8" point guard, can see over everybody, pinpoint passing, smooth stroke. He is on the Bulls, and I've said this before, and I will say it again, the Bulls like to trade good players. Nothing's happening right now. Giddey is seeking something in the $30 million range. Today, not a deal. Trade deadline, you never know what's going to happen. Ryan Rollins, 6'3", 180, on a 3-year, $12 million contract with the Bucks. Foot injuries have kept him from showing what he can do, but more than a few teams are watching him. Barring injury, this guy looks like a gamer. And once again, these aren't anything that are on the Suns' radar. They're on my radar. They're on Suns fans' radars as possible future point guards. Maybe not even this year, but just keep them in the back of your head, because if and when, it's going to be like, oh yeah, we all talked about that, and that's kind of fun. Isaiah Collier of the Jazz, starting point guard for the Jazz. This is my favorite one so far. Set a Jazz rookie record for assists in a half with 10 against the Suns last year, February 2025 Western Conference Rookie of the Month. 11.5 points, 9.5 assists, and about 4 rebounds per that month when he was Rookie of the Month. Surpassed John Stockton's previous record. You don't hear that too much now, do you? Surpassed John Stockton? Surpassed his previous record of 415 for the most assists recorded in a season by a rookie in Jazz, Utah, or New Orleans history. That's a heck of a stat. So, Isaiah Collier, I don't think Utah's letting him go anytime. He's actually somebody they might build around. Utah's wheeling and dealing like crazy. So, you never know. We're going to do a few more tomorrow, but these are just possible point guard prospects, and I think it's important to talk about. Now, here's the big point guard prospect, and the rumor started a day and a half ago, and I don't know yet how I feel about this one. Trey Young of the Atlanta Hawks, multiple All-Star, multiple sources bringing up the possibility of the Hawks, Trey Young, at minimum, being monitored by the Suns. Hawks have not extended him, and nobody can get a beat on if that's a good thing or a bad thing for the Hawks or him or his people. Nobody's saying much, and that's odd. Now, the other rumor is there's supposed tension between the front office and Trey Young and his crew, and it's not new. And supposedly, this has been going on for a little while. Quiet underlying issues going on. So, is it just me, or when like an all-star like Trey Young becomes the face of a team, but they don't seem to make any forward progress after a few years? I know the Hawks got to the Eastern Conference Finals 2-3 years ago? And he's been the face of the franchise, no question. You think of the Hawks, you think of Trey Young, and then you kind of have to, other than Dyson Daniels recently, but for the last 5 or 6 years, that's Trey's team. That's his team. And when you get to the 5 or 6 or 7 year period and your main guy feels like he's doing all he can and the pieces aren't around him, or he's limited and you're putting good pieces around him, this is usually when a change of scenery comes up. And that's why it's a decent rumor. It's one rumor. Offensive-minded coach Quinn Snyder, former Jazz coach, joins the Hawks a few years ago. Seems like a move in the direction of Trey and his capabilities. Then they bring in Kristaps Porzingis. They already have defensive stud and Dyson Daniels, underrated defensive player. Covers up a lot of Trey's defensive inadequacies. So, no, it doesn't seem like the Hawks are moving away from the Trey Young being the face of the franchise. The Hawks, like the Suns, have to wait and see what clicks once the season begins. So, again, but here's a weird thing, and this is why I don't think Trey's moving anytime soon, at least this year, because the East is now really open. The Celtics, without Jason Tatum, without Porzingis, without Drew Holiday, without Al Horford, without the core of that group that has been contending, I don't think they're going to be the strength that they have been. The Pacers just lost Miles Turner and no Halliburton for the year. So I don't think the Pacers get back to the finals this coming year. The Sixers are dead. Mark my words. So, the Hawks can realistically look at a 4th or a 5th place finish in the East and make some noise, adding Porzingis. Dyson Daniels, one more year of confidence. Trey Young going, oh man, maybe new energy for him. So yeah, it seems like he's staying with them. Now, I think Devin Booker, Trey Young backcourt offensively would be really fun. And Trey he's a multiple all-star, and you kind of don't look past all-stars in the hopes of bringing along somebody unless you are so dead on right about them. But all the guys that I mentioned in the point guard prospects, you want one of them, or do you want Trey Young as your point guard along with Devin Booker? I mean, he is a legit point guard, defensive liability, but he is a legit point guard. He would still demand a decent haul. Star players have forced their way out of situations they didn't want to be in for a lot less than what they're worth. If this is a possible deal, starts with Jalen Green, and there's no gauging if the Hawks want him, and it definitely wouldn't be a Jalen Green for Trey Young. Remember, this is all rumor. Don't freak out. This is just possibilities, and it's the fun stuff to talk about. I don't want to lose Dunn. I don't want to lose Brooks. I don't want to lose Williams. I can live with ideally a straight-up Green for Young, which is not going to happen. Grayson Allen, Royce O'Neal, Jalen Green for Young works. It works with money, but we don't have any draft assets that the Hawks are going to want. I want Giddey before I want Trey Young. I know I just contradicted myself. I think Giddey would just be a better fit for the Suns. I think he doesn't need the ball as much as Trey Young does to be effective. That is a wait till the trade deadline situation, but it's interesting to think about because for all the inadequacies that Trey Young has, I think you bring him onto the Suns. I think he slides right in there, and the Suns go on a tear. I really do believe that. I think he is that good. All right, the comments from at Judas Junk Comics 3283. You said, who wants Kuminga? Jonathan Kuminga of the Golden State Warriors. The ongoing saga continues. The Suns do, because we offered $90 million. You are correct. We've talked about this. Suns offered double what the Warriors were offering. Golden State is in a similar position as we were with Bradley Beal and Kevin Durant. Houston got what they wanted on the cheap compared to what we paid. Kuminga holds the power like KD did. People were not willing to pay KD, even though he was the top scorer last year. We have no real draft picks for years, so our best chance is getting a young gun, and Kuminga should be a starter. If we can get him on cheap and Suns think he fits, let's get him. I like his offense. He's proven not coachable. We've gone over this way too many times. Kerr doesn't like moving young guys in until the Steph, Draymond, and now Jimmy Buckets era, before it was Klay Thompson. Until that doesn't work, until that makes the Warriors not a contending team, he's not messing with that starting lineup. So nothing's going to happen until October 1st. But and what do you think would make Jonathan Kuminga defer to Booker if he's not going to defer to Steph Curry? And that's why Kerr keeps him on the bench. So I don't know. Back at Judas Junk Comic 3283. Yeah, that's when I defer to coach and GM, which are unproven for sure. But they seem to have a type of player they want right now, right? So maybe they see something. They're the experts. We're not. We're just talking about the Suns. Golden State has been chasing off young talent for years, but I just said why they do that. And they do that, and they still contend. They're still contenders. They're going to be great this year. Barring injury, the Warriors are going to be a tough win. They are known for not knowing how to build young players. Seems we are gambling. We will know better if it seems like we might. Dunn and Iguodala were surprise successes. They're not successes yet, but I like them. Golden State didn't have to develop young guys, just bring in complementary players to the Steph, Klay, Dre core. Now they should attempt to implement Kuminga, but they have probably one more year with Steph, Dre, and Jimmy Buckets if they're healthy. I just said all this. All right, fine. But that's a really good thing to bring up, regardless of what Kuminga could bring to the Suns. And don't you want a young starter on your team who's a proven scorer? Yeah. You want a guy who's going to give you attitude, give you 40 in one game and then piss off everybody else on the team the next 4 games? No, don't need it. From that Curious Mind 2525. Love you, buddy. Maybe we should have a top 5 Suns offensive team and a top 5 defensive team. Give us all something to debate till training camp opens. Okay, I love these discussions with you and all the other listeners. You make my day. LOL. Thank you very much. You know what, you guys, even if you're insulting me, I appreciate the feedback. I appreciate all the disagreement. I appreciate all the love. So thank you very much. You're making Suns latest what it is. Thank you, my man. At Alan Snow 1129. I'm going with Shawn Marion at small forward because Walter Davis was more a shooting guard with the Suns. Easy choice for me. KJ. Oh, I was doing the top 5, and we just picked the 6th man who ended up being Shawn Marion. We're going to move away from that, and now we're going to really open it up. We're going to do like Suns all time, but that's coming up. KJ was a better all-around player. Nash was a better shooter and meant more to his team. Suns just couldn't win without Nash, and Suns could win a little more without KJ when he was injured. Also from Alan Snow. KJ never gets talked about from NBA media, and he should be in the Hall of Fame. He was as good as Isaiah Thomas. KJ is the most underrated point guard in NBA history. Tom Chambers is the most underrated forward of all time, and also should be in the Hall of Fame. KJ, though, is why the Suns won from 1988 to 97. Me, Walter Davis was a shooting guard for his last 2 years with the Suns, but he was a small forward the entire time before that. You could switch Nash and KJ in any Suns era, any league era, really. They're timeless point guards. And there'd be no fall-off. Taking Nash for the accolades and not having an MVP to play with, as KJ had Barkley. That's the only reason, other than that, because I'm the biggest KJ fan, and I agree. He should be in the Hall of Fame. Ridiculously underrated. And I kind of have Isaiah Thomas of the Pistons as the second best point guard of all time, mostly for leadership capabilities, not what he could or couldn't do on the court. KJ and them, they could do the same stuff. But Isaiah seemed to have that Pistons team, the bad boys, who I don't like, and I don't think we're actually good for basketball. He had them wired to follow his lead. That's why I think Isaiah Thomas gets the nod over a lot of other great point guards. I've noticed a trend on Instagram, and thank you for bringing this up, on TikTok as well. A lot of super fans and former pros are showing up for Tom Chambers, the guy who played against him. The guys who played against him are showing a lot of respect, and they're pointing out that they want to make it very clear that Tom Chambers was a bucket and that he deserves his flowers. At BPC1003, KJ at his best stacked against Nash at his best. Yeah, if you watch, you know the answer is KJ. No, I watched. His candle burned brighter at a time among absolute legends. But if we're asking who had the better Suns career, no doubt it was Nash. You can't compare the accolades and their value to the team as the team peaked. I think it's an impossible decision to make. It's really your choice. You're not going to fall off if you have KJ or Nash as your starting all-time point guard. You're just not. They're both that good. And then there's other schools of thought, and we've gone through this. It's an impossible argument. I saw both live during their peaks, and I believe without injuries, KJ is a first ballot Hall of Famer. Absolute dog. Again, how do you keep either off the top 5? It's not an easy decision, so you make a decision and you live with it. At Hammerton in 1962, Shawn Marion would be 7'2" if he had a neck. You're horrible. Has to be the most disrespected Sun of all time. The Hall of Fame means nothing to me when there are so many former Suns that deserve to be in it. Matrix was unique and as underrated as anyone who ever played. I'm still putting Walter Davis in the starting lineup over him, mostly because up until last season, Walter Davis, leading scorer in Suns history, 2-time All-Pro, 6-time All-Star with the Suns, 10 years straight of 20 points or more. And you know what? No fall-off if you put Marion there. Better defender. Other than that, I got Walter Davis. Ooh boy. At Pierre Linval, you're not wrong. Alvin Adams was the best center the Suns ever had. I put Alvin Adams on the all-time 5 because it was by position. And he's the best center the Suns ever had, and I'm not backing off on that. I think it's tough for people that didn't see him back in the day to understand how good he really was. A very complete player. Smart, tougher than he gets credit for. Much stronger than he appeared. In 77, this is an amazing stat. Alvin Adams messed around, got a triple-double with 47, 18, and 12. 47, 18, and 12 on a triple-double. In 77. Let those numbers sink in. Almost 50, almost 20, and 12 assists. He was an amazing passing center. Adams is one of 5 players in NBA history, along with Elgin Baylor, Wilt Chamberlain, Russell Westbrook, and Vince Carter to have as many as 46 points and 16 rebounds in a triple-double. He is the Suns' all-time leading rebounder. Games played, steals, and minutes. His whole career, 76 to 88, was with the Suns. I will hear no arguments. I will die on this hill. Alvin Adams was the best center was the best center in Suns history. At Gambler Smoker, arguing Westfall over Booker in 2025 is crazy. Crazy is recency bias, especially when it comes to a generational player like Paul Westfall, who could play in any era and was a true leader. Gamble Smoker, if you saw Westy live, and I'm guessing you didn't, correct me, tell me I'm wrong, you'd think a lot differently. Paul Westfall was a better all-around player than Devin Booker. There's no arguing that. He was a better defender. He was an all-league defender, out of the box. He came from Boston. He won a title with them. Much better defender. 3 times as many first-team All-NBA selections. The undisputed leader of the 1976 team that went to the NBA Finals, and in everybody's humble opinion, was the better team, was the tougher team than Boston. Boston, in the 70s, got a lot of breaks. Not backing off on that. He did more for that 76 Finals team for the Suns than Booker's 21 Suns did against the Bucks. Booker had Hall of Fame point guard Chris Paul as his backcourt mate in the 2021 Finals. And a lot of people say the Suns wouldn't have got there without Chris Paul. I, for one, agree with that, as great as Booker is, and as much as I think Devin Booker deserves as much as Paul Westfall to be on the top 5. But I'm picking Westfall, because Westfall had Alvin Adams, Gar Hurd, Curtis Perry, and his backcourt mate was Ricky Sobers. No one in the Hall of Fame running next to him. And he almost, in what looked like single-handedly, was beating the best team in the league. I love Booker, but I'll argue that one all day. So no, I'm not crazy. At Toasty 7370, if Mark Williams can stay healthy, and then that's a win. Any issues? That's where Malawach can get his play time. Okay, I still want Nick Richards to be the main backup, but I want Malawach to see action too. He's still a project. I'm not convinced with the power forward rotation. We got a lot of options. At the very least, we have a lot of options for power forward. Will they try Oso at the 4 at times? Maybe. Work in progress, I guess. Agreed. Was hoping they would go out and get a proper power forward like Horford. That could provide some knowledge to help the younger ones to develop. But it looks like they're going to stand pat with what they have and see how this roster goes. Still think we do a minor move before the season starts. I think Coach Ott is going to get the most out of the young guys. And I think Nigel Hayes-Davis is being overlooked, and we're going to address that on tomorrow's Suns Latest. Throw them all into the fire. See how it works. See what sticks. I like Dunn and Brooks at forward. Think both of them will have the best year of their careers. Fleming looks like he could be a problem for opposing defenses sooner than later. He looks like he's very, very ready to play. I like Al Horford. I haven't really given it much thought regarding Al Horford. I like him better than Middleton, just for what he brings to what the Suns need. At whatever your name is, EXPLICITINTEL. Suns fan from Maryland. If you're looking for guests that are fans. We're not doing guests right now. That's why I'm doing comments right now. The good folks at Fan Arts will let me know when I may have guests on. But thank you, and thank you for joining. James Bennett, Suns fan since 87. Thank you for joining. At Robert Sears, JIM. The worst, just babble. The worst, comma, just babble. A criticism. I won't respond to you, sir, but I will let Hammered in 1962, the absolute best. I've listened to a lot of Suns podcasts over the years. This is the offseason, and Rubin is killing it. Opinions vary, but thank you both thank you both for commenting. Not everybody's going to like what we're doing here, but either way, I love the support. Thank you. Go Suns. Alrighty, we have to move on because it is time for the all-time team. So up until the last Suns Latest, we were doing the all-time 5 and a 6-man, and it was all my choice. I wanted to hear what you had to say, but at the end of the day, it was my choice. We're going to open it up now. Shooting guard Paul Westfall, point guard Steve Nash, power forward Chuck Barkley, Charles Barkley. I just wrote Chuck. Small forward Walter Davis, center Alvin Adams, 6-man Sean Marion. So that was by position, except for the 6-man. It was hard to leave all these guys off the top 5. How do you leave Devin Booker off the top 5 all time? I just told you why. Paul Westfall, and I'm staying with that. How do you leave Amari Stoudemire off top 5? Well, if we're going by position, do you want Stat or do you want Charles Barkley? Thank you. How do you leave Kevin Johnson off the all-time top 5? 2-time MVP, Steve Nash is my answer to that. Then there's the ones that you can really start talking about. Tom Chambers, who we just mentioned. Sean Marion, 6-man. Jason Kidd. Forget that Kidd played for us, and in 4 years, Kidd was first team All-Pro NBA 3 of those 4 years. He was so effective for us. Dan Marley. Kevin Durant. I know it was only, 2.5 years? Kevin Durant had the highest scoring average in the history of the Phoenix Suns franchise for one season last year. It's hard to deny that, I don't want him on my first team. Regardless, we're not going, well, this guy played longer. Now we're going to open it up. Just who's the best? Chris Paul, Dennis Johnson. The requirements are at least one NBA All-Star selection or All-NBA selection. It does matter if it's first, second, or third team. If you have like 5 third-team selections, 2 first-team selections trump the 5 third-team selections. But Walter Davis, 2 second-team All-NBA selections trump Marion's 2 third-team, obviously, if we're going to go by that criteria. Had to have won a major award while playing for the Suns if you weren't an All-Star or an All-Pro. So Shaq and Kevin Durant being MVPs with other teams doesn't count, but they were both All-Stars as Suns, so they're on the list. A major award, MVP, Rookie of the Year, will get you on the list, even if you weren't an All-Star. It's pretty hard to be MVP and not be an All-Star. There have been Rookies of the Year that never made an All-Star team. So the list is Charles Barkley, Steve Nash, Devin Booker, Kevin Johnson, Connie Hawkins, Paul Westphal, Walter Davis, Alvin Adams, Jason Kidd, Amari Stoudemire, Tom Chambers, Chris Paul, Sean Marion, Dan Marley, Dick Van Arsdale, Dennis Johnson, Kevin Durant, Larry Nance, Charlie Scott, Paul Silas, Gail Goodrich, Goran Dragic. Dragic is the most fascinating one. Never made an All-Star team with the Suns, was 100% their leader the second time he came back, and was a third-team All-NBA selection without being an All-Star. Shaquille O'Neal, only son to be an All-Star Game MVP. Jeff Hornacek, one-time All-Star. Steph Marbury made All-Pro teams and was an All-Star while with the Suns, and no one ever talks about him. Leandro Barbosa, 6th Man of the Year. Boris Diaw, first son to ever win Most Improved. And Don Boozy, first son ever named to All-Defense First Team, and he did it 2 years in a row, 78, 79, and 79, 80. If I am missing somebody to put on the all-time team, you let me know in the comments here on Suns Latest. And if I'm completely, doing this wrong, tell me as well. But I think that's the list. I don't know who else on the Suns belongs on the all-time team. I also want you to tell me how many guys you want on the all-time team. Do you want to do a regular roster, or do you want to do, regular roster, and then we'll put in a few more, like, in case somebody goes injured, in case we get this, blah, 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 and then in case we have somebody on in the G League who we can bring up when we need them. So please let me know what you want to do. Thank you for watching Suns Daily. I am Rich Rubin. We're going to do it again tomorrow. Later.